All right, everybody. This is Unfound Live for October 21st of 2024. I hope everybody is doing well out there. My week since we last all spoke to each other last Monday, this past week was not quite as exciting and up and down and all around as the week before was with Hurricane Milton. But it was a good week, getting a lot done here. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of those things that have gone on since we all got together, as I usually do. Just because I think some of you find it funny and find it interesting. And I think be mine now that I like to be as transparent, as possible about myself, what kind of my personality, my likes and dislikes and things. And I continue to believe that by me just being transparent about who I am, that makes the podcast better. It makes you even a stronger believer in what we are doing here at Unfound. Just to kind of give you a little behind the scenes look of what goes on when you're not listening to me on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, whenever you do get to the new episodes of the podcast. So as you're watching tonight, as I always tell you, please give this show a thumbs up. Please subscribe to this channel. Please share it with anybody that you think might enjoy it, might find it interesting. Got a lot of videos on this channel. I think they're all very high quality. So if you know somebody that's into true crime, somebody that's addicted to the Oxygen channel, somebody that will watch like old reruns of the Forensic Files or whatever, this might be a good channel to suggest to that person. Of course, the podcast itself as well. And if you'd like to go maybe one step further, you can hit, if you're watching on YouTube tonight, you can hit the join button below. Or you can go to patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. As you can see there across the bottom of the screen. And also you can paypal.me/, let me try that again, paypal.me/Unfound Podcast. If you'd like to support what we do that way. And then while we are running the show tonight here on YouTube, you can look at the little button there at the bottom called the Super Chat button. I believe in these days it's in green. It used to be like black with a gray outline, and then it was just a gray box with a black $sign in the middle. I think it's green now. I think they finally made it a color. So I think it's green now, and if you'd like to monetarily contribute that way during the live show over the next 2 hours, you can do it that way as well. As you can see in the description for the live show tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about Mount Everest. A long-standing mystery has been solved there. I want to talk about the disappearance of this actor, Zelig Williams, who went missing in South Carolina. I think most prominently, he performed in the musical Hamilton there in New York City. And then what also caught my eye was a disappearance from the Denver airport. And being that I was to that airport 3 years in a row, 2021, 2022, and 2023, I kind of got to know that airport a little bit. So I want to talk about that. And then I have a lot of other things that I want to cover before we're done tonight. Got some Unfound news and upcoming appearances and things that I want to go through tonight. I know all of you take an interest in those things as well. So let's go see first who is in here tonight, and then we'll get to some of that stuff. Karen gets in here first. She beats Charlie to the punch, but given that she was in here 45 minutes early, it's no wonder you are first, Karen. Thank you for the devotion. Toad Kiss, what's going on? Charlie, good to see you. I'm going to be talking back to you here in a moment, Charlie. D, what's going on, Lisa? Hello, Lisa. And Karen again. Cash, good to see you. Making a lot of comments here. Hazel from New Zealand. Kathy. Thank you all for making time on this Monday night. Sarah, who is a brand new think tank member she went to patreon.com/unfound podcast, and she got to take part in her first think tank last night for the disappearance of Tiffany Daniels. What a great one to first appear in, Sarah. Nice timing on that. Hello, Lori, good to see you. And a little heart from Lori. Heart right back at you, Lori. And who else? Just want to go down here. Amy, good to see you. Yeah, everybody's getting in here. Everybody's saying back and forth to each other. Is Denver the one with the red-eyed horse sculpture? I'm not sure about that, Cash, but yeah, there has been videos. What do we call them? Conspiracy theory videos or something about the Denver airport and some of the markings and things there. Anybody knows me knows I don't take any of that stuff seriously, but that wouldn't surprise me, Cash. My super chat is a white box, white $sign. Okay. So maybe it depends on the app, Lisa. Thank you for letting me know about that. Charlie, who lives in the Denver area, knows all about the red-eyed horse, I guess. All right. And being that Charlie's been to that airport often, that makes sense. Mount Everest is very special to New Zealanders due to Sir Hillary, of course. I'm a Palm, not a Kiwi. Yes, Sir Edmund Hillary, first person seemingly to get to the top. And congratulations on him doing that in the 1950s. And we're going to get to that a little bit, Hazel. So what's been going on with me? I haven't been playing any disc golf, being that just been a little busy. Both of those hurricanes, even though the power is only out for a few days, but that is kind of how tight a ship I try to run. It's certainly a just-in-time type of production here. And anytime the power goes out or I kind of get out of my rhythm, it can knock things back a little bit. So disc golf has not been a prominent part of my life over the last 3 weeks. In addition, there's been a lot of damage to the parks here with trees down and everything. And so for the most part, these disc golf courses are public parks, and really people are kind of not allowed to go in them right now. Because of downed trees, there may be other issues that may be dangerous. So, and in fact, we're supposed to have a tournament this coming weekend, and that's not going to happen. In fact, it was supposed to be 2 days ago, and then my buddy Cam pushed it to the 26th. It's not going to happen then either, once again, because of damage and everything. So that also has kind of put a crimp in it. And also up here at Sandkey Park, they just reopened it. Sandkey Park, from what I understand, really got messed up as well. But I think it's open now. I'm going to have to go up and check that out. So if you're wondering, well, you haven't, been talking about your disc golf, Ed, what's going on? Well, there's a lot of combination of reasons, but I can assure you disc golf is not going anywhere in my life. It's not vanishing at all. As far as the gym, I have to tell you, I'm really enjoying getting back to the gym. I'm very fortunate that I have a gym right here in this building where I live. And it's not a big one, but it has all the important equipment and things like dumbbells and good machines and things. And it has multiple like cycle machines and treadmills, even though it's not that big of a gym. But I have to admit, it's been in this building right when I first moved here. I was going down there and then I kind of got away from it. And just, I like when I was up seeing my dad, of course, it seems like yesterday, but that was going back to the beginning of August. I said, you know what, when I get back there, it's free. I don't need to have a gym membership or anything. It's right here in the building. And I think I also got motivated because when I came back from seeing my dad, I figured out that they were refurbishing the entire gym. And on top of that, they put all new equipment in there. So I think, well, maybe this is a sign. And so I'm going to the gym almost every day. Really just light work right now. Not getting crazy with it. You have to remember, I'm 54 and I don't want to pull any muscles. I don't want to be sore. I don't need any of that. So I'm hitting it just kind of light. But I know very quickly here I'm going to be adding in getting on the treadmill as well for at least 20 minutes, a half hour. Right now, it's just weights and things, but I'm going there every day. So I was there this morning. I don't spend a lot of time there, maybe less than 45 minutes. Like I said, even back in the days when I was going to the gym and hitting a lot harder, of course, that was a long time ago. If I was in there longer than an hour, I started to get bored. So any workout that I would put together with weights and everything, I had to be able to do it in less than an hour, or I had an idea that maybe I just wasn't going to do it. So I'm down there, I'm listening to my tunes, and I run in a couple of the same people, at the same time every day. But it's not that big of a gym, but plenty that multiple people can be there and you're not in anybody's way. So that's been really good. And it's nice that I only have to ride the elevator down 6 floors to do that. And what's also really nice is that something new also to the gym is they've added Wi-Fi down there. The way this building is, you don't get very good cell phone reception. And that's why, like, when I use my cell phone here in my condo here, I usually am using it on Wi-Fi. Like I'm talking or texting, I'm not using the T-Mobile signal. I'm actually using the Wi-Fi right here in this condo. And so when I would go to the gym before, you couldn't get any reception. So if you want to listen to music or anything, that makes it a little tough, or you want to watch videos or something. They actually now have Wi-Fi that is dedicated to the gym. They actually have Wi-Fi for the building now, like if you were to go to a hotel or something. Fantastic. So that also motivates me to get back down there again. So that's what's been going on there. And also my singing is going well. I think you can tell that my voice is back to 100%. And I've found a way to practice my singing every day without, you have to remember something. When you've heard me, like really at the end of August, it was really bad. Like August into September, man, did I mess my voice up. That was not good. But it seems every time my voice comes back, it comes back stronger. I'm not saying my range necessarily increases or anything, but it just seems like my voice is stronger. Maybe it's a psychological thing. But I only have damaged my voice when I'm trying to actually sing songs that are probably a little bit out of my range at this point. I've never hurt my voice practicing scales and everything. So that's very important to remember. And I've kind of in the past been taking off these days where I do the think tank, where I talk for like an hour and a half straight. And then here on the live shows, I talk, of course, for 2 hours straight. And that talking of anything you can do with your voice, talking is the worst. All right. Of course, if you're singing and not using good technique, that sucks too. But talking is very hard on your voice. And so I haven't been doing any singing, but I've figured out I can do my practicing on these days as long as I'm working on what we would call my head voice, like my upper range, and not working on my chest voices, which is what you use to talk. So today I did my workout, but I'm only working like on those vocal cords and my larynx that I don't use to talk, but you do use them for singing. So I can wear them out, practicing for however long, and it doesn't affect my voice here. So you can't tell that I did my singing practice today, but I did. In fact, I did it for quite long. And once again, I have this all kind of figured into my schedule on top of talking to people for the podcast and doing interviews and writing the podcast scripts and everything else. I'm putting it on my life. Been feeling very motivated here, August, September, October of 2024. Been very, very motivated. Singing more, practicing singing more, going to the gym for the first time in like 4 years. And on top of that, I've started messing around on the guitar again. And so I have two guitars. If you don't know, I have an acoustic one, which is an Ibanez. And then I have an electric guitar. I've had the Ibanez for about 15 years. I've had the Ibanez electric guitar for about 4 years. And it's a Squire, so it's like a cheap Fender, but what do I need? What do I need? And they've just kind of been sitting here. And once again, it's one of those things kind of going back to the gym. The gym is right there, Ed. Maybe you should go. And so it's also, and neither of these guitars are expensive. I did not spend a lot of money on either of them. And they're just kind of sitting here. And I'm like, I do have the time if I want to. And so I've kind of gotten back into that. Not as much as the singing, though. But I did, I'm working on, if you don't know, the singing course that I'm following is the Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy. Ken Tamplin, Tamplin. He also has a YouTube channel. It's very popular. And as far as my guitar work, I'm following a program by a guy. His name is Rick Beato, Beato. And he also has a YouTube channel that's fantastic. But I'm following a guitar course, a very comprehensive guitar course of his. So these things that I'm doing, they're very structured, the singing and the guitar playing. It's not me just messing around. I'm following what experts, professionals recommend, and from day to day, week to week, month to month. I'm not, just doing it willy-nilly, and probably goes back to my piano days, which was the same thing. I never played the piano willy-nilly. It was always very structured practice, structured playing, trying to get certain things, improve certain things. It wasn't just sitting down at the piano every day and figure out, what am I doing today? It was never like that. So it's not like that with this stuff either. And I'm enjoying it. And my voice is getting better. We'll see where the guitar playing goes. I got right now, I'm a much better singer than guitar player, for sure. And as far as the piano playing, the keyboard's there. I mess around with it once in a while. But I have to, even though I was raised a classically trained piano player, and I was very, 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 very good at one time. When it comes to my musical interests, now in my 50s, it's more into singing and guitar, probably because of the music that I like. But trust me, when I say I could sit down at the keyboard over there and have the music in front of me and still play a lot of different things, I can still read music, piano music, like nothing. I can still look at the music and say, oh, this is how you play it. It's no problem. Whereas I cannot do that with a guitar. I may never be able to do that with guitar. We just can never tell. So moving on, trivia did not win last Wednesday, but we started off just fine. We came in 8th, totally fine. We're kind of keeping that long-term view. We want to try to win the season, although win certain weeks, but win the entire season, which we did not do. So had a little tough time of it on Wednesday night, but it's totally fine. We didn't take a 0, which is good. And even though we're in 8th place, We're only like 10 points out of third place. It's we got one team that did really well on Wednesday, one team that didn't do so well, and then there are a whole bunch of teams bunched up like 3rd through 10th, kind of like. So we got like 10, 11 more weeks to go, a lot of time. And of course, last season that was 12 weeks, we didn't even score any points till the 4th week because we kept taking zeros because we can't answer those final questions correctly. So it's all good. The only thing is we'll have to get there early this week to get a table. Moving on. Trivia. Yeah, Cash, what's everybody saying here? Let's see. Cash says, I need to do more exercise. Probably everybody could say that, Cash. My treadmill stuck at 4 miles an hour, and it is a bit much. Lisa, 4 miles an hour probably is a pretty good, fast walking pace, a little bit jogging. It's better than being stuck at 6 miles an hour. Hazel, fantastic having the new gym there. It is. Take stairs, not lift to gym. Let's not get crazy, Cash. Let's not get crazy. Hello, Cherie. Look at everybody. Everybody's already saying hi to Cherie. I'm kind of just catching up now. Hello, Cherie. Good to see you. Cash says, I have time, but no motivation. That's the way most people are, I guess. Hazel says, you'll never find time for a girlfriend now. Well, you just never know, Hazel. Just kind of leaving that up to the gods or karma or fate or bad luck or something, whatever you believe in. My brother can play guitar, piano, bass. That's pretty impressive, Cash. Yeah, we do pub quiz trivia every Wednesday night, and my team is easily the best one in Pinellas County. It's not even close. One more thing. Many of you know my car got damaged during Hurricane Milton. Those tiles fell on it. I will be taking it to the body shop on Wednesday morning. My brother Brian is going to be picking me up there. It's just right over here, but it's a little far for a walk. And so I'm going to be without a car. And so I don't know, Charlie, I'm going to make it over to Orlando next week. I don't know how long it's going to take to fix my car. My guess is they're not even going to order any parts for it until they look, even though I've sent pictures and everything. My guess is they would never order anything or do anything until they actually see the car in person. And the car certainly needs a new windshield wiper arm. It needs a new hood. And it might even need an entire new front plastic fascia. I don't know what's all in. The total cost is $2,100. So that sounds to me, maybe not the front fascia, but like I said, it could go up if there are things they couldn't see in the pictures or whatever. And then the A-pillar on the passenger side got dinged. And of course, I need a new windshield. And there are a lot of cars here in Pinellas County that need a lot of work right now. So I don't know how quickly it's going to get done. I can easily go without a car. It's really not that big of a deal to me. So I may not be able to make it over there next week. If I didn't have a car, of course, I'm not going to be able to go over. So I'll let your mother know tomorrow about that. It very well may be that they fix the car in a week, and if they do, that's great. But if they don't, then and it would not surprise me if it took more than a week. Once again, if it was just a particular problem with my car, then maybe a week's not that crazy. But given there are so many other cars and going in and getting, who knows? I mean, there are a lot of Hyundai Sonatas in Pinellas County that I'm sure got damaged just like mine or even worse. So there may be just a shortage of parts. It's not that they don't have the time. It's they may just not, well, we got to get a hood for this car. Well, We got to ship one from South Korea, which is where those cars come from. So it's just hard to say right now, Charlie. But I'm hoping, but I'm not going to make any promises. Totally out of my control. Sarah, insurance is going to pay for it, but I have to pay the deductible, and don't even get me started about, although, my opinion is I shouldn't have to pay my deductible. My apartment complex should pay it. But the woman who first found me this condo 5.5 years ago, I brought it up to her, and I think she thinks I'm crazy. She has nothing to do with this building. She's totally an independent realtor and everything. But I ran that idea past her, and she thinks I'm crazy for even bringing it up. So there's that. So even though this certainly was not my fault, I think I'm going to have to grin and bear it for the $500 for the deductible, and then they'll pay for the rest of it. I don't think my insurance is going to go up or anything, but it still sucks. You have to give me Charlie, because I know, karaoke, I know, Hazel, I know. The no good plan goes unpunished, Hazel, as we say here in the United States. No good plan goes unpunished. Body shops have cars to lend for a few days. Yeah, but not for a week, Hazel. And my insurance does not cover rentals, so I'm not doing that. I'm just not going to do it. Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it. To be honest, easier just doing insurers. Yeah. So, and like I said, right now, as far as insurance goes, and cars and motorcycles and boats and houses that have been destroyed and everything else, I'm, small game. I'm a small fish in a very big pond here in Pinellas County right now. I mean, I'm guessing if it were a regular month, that my car, Hyundai Sonata, getting damaged this way would be very, just of a few. But there's probably 100, maybe 500 Hyundai Sonatas that probably have been damaged one way or the other over the past month, because it's a very common car. So there you go. And yeah, so that, Hazel, that's a pretty good memory of yours, saying that I was going to go to karaoke with Charlie. I still would like to do that, but I don't like to make promises and then not keep them. I'm more of a person who doesn't make many promises on things until I'm sure I can do them. So there you go, Charlie. Like I said, I will let your mother know. Yeah, it's an extra unfortunate following Milton and Helena. Do you have homeowners? Well, I live in a condo and I rent, Ferry. So no. Do I have renter's insurance? I don't know. I really don't own hardly anything in this condo. I don't own any of the furniture or the TVs or anything. All of this is completely furnished when I moved in. And, the tiles that fell had nothing to do with the people who own this particular condo where I live. So, all right, moving on. Let's get to, so we're now like a half hour and lots going on. Like I said, not as eventful as the week before. But moving on, by the way, if anybody's wondering, my dad is fantastic, although he had to watch his football team, Slippery Rock, lose this past weekend. But I talked to my dad today. He's fantastic. A little like a month and a half from now, he's going to be turning 88. And he still drives all over Pennsylvania, going to football games and things. He knows how to use the GPS on his car, so he can just go anywhere he wants. And he still has his mind. His health is pretty good. He is a freak of nature. So Dad is good. All right, true crime stuff for the rest of the time. And if anybody has any questions, as I posted very early on before I even came on the camera, if any of you have any questions, doesn't even be true crime related. Just as an example, I got into a pretty good music conversation with a guy over the past week regarding Iron Maiden songs and some other things. I do that with listeners once in a while. If they send me a message about something, we'll get, on, who knows where the conversations will go. As you've learned, my interests are wide ranging, and I think that's why I'm pretty good at trivia. So if you have anything that's, you've been itching to ask me, go ahead, put it right there in the chat tonight. All right, I need to start with this. Something that I just realized today that was not intentional. I realized that the comments have not been turned on for any of these live shows going back quite a while, seemingly going back to when I started using StreamYard. That was not intentional. I did not realize that when I was setting this up, it would automatically default to no comments for the live show. I did start going through some of these older live shows and turning the comments on. I realized that, I don't know how many people are going to go back and watch them. Maybe they will. But I'm in the process of doing that. And I want to assure you that the comments section for this live show are turned on. For anybody that watches this after it is played. And I'm pretty sure that all the regular videos, of course, the episodes that come out every Friday that become videos there on the YouTube channel, all of those comments are turned on. But these live shows, for some reason, when I set it up once again in this program called StreamYard, it defaults to the comments being turned off. I just discovered that today. So that was not intentional, if anybody was wondering. I will do my best to get on that and turn them all back on. But most importantly, I now know that, so that's not going to happen anymore. You think your father's 78? Okay, 10 years younger. Yeah, my dad's amazing. True. Comment Gates. Well, there's Marty. Marty can't make it to the think tank, but he can make it to the live show. Hello, Marty. How are you? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Marty has a lot of things going on, as he has told me, and maybe he'll get to reveal a lot of that some point publicly. All right, let's go to the Tiffany Daniels poll. Now, I should state that, of course, there are a lot of episodes that I could choose to revisit. And I picked this one, I have to admit, mainly because I wanted to be able to talk about it with the think tank members. And we had a great discussion regarding Tiffany's disappearance, last night. And it went for almost an hour and a half. And once again, if you'd like to be a part of the think tank, patreon.com/unfound podcast. But I wanted to see what the think tank members had to say about her disappearance. And because of that, all of you benefited. That of course, the original interview from 2018 was played, and I offered up some new insight into her disappearance now that it's been 6.5 years since that original episode came out, and it's been over 11 years since she went missing. But I have to tell you, despite all of that, I have to admit that my attitude toward her disappearance has not changed. And in fact, I knew about Tiffany's disappearance well before I ever started Unfound. Of course, I started Unfound in 2016. She went missing in 2013, so it was like approximately 3 years there. And I knew about her disappearance before I ever started the podcast. And of course, I got to have her mother, Cindy, on the podcast in 2018. But I really can't remember thinking any other way, but then thinking, you know what, this just sounds like a young woman who had a lot of things going on and maybe made a very unfortunate choice. That is my opinion, as all of you know. Any of you can disagree with me at any time. I do not take it personally. I certainly want listeners who are free thinkers. At Unfound, I'm not telling you what to think. We're just learning how to think about these things. and thinking about these things as objectively as possible. And sometimes we just come to different conclusions, and that's okay. And everybody knows me. I do not argue with people about theories. I don't do that. We can have a discussion. Oh, you look at it that way. I look at it this way. That's interesting. I hope you think my thinking is interesting. That's how we do it. Now, I did put a poll. And I don't know if I was doing polling back in 2018 in the discussion group. I don't remember. But 94% of you who answered the poll in the discussion group think that somebody who knew her caused her disappearance. 94% think that foul play is the cause of her disappearance. Whereas in the think tank is not a very large group, 6 or 7 people getting together every Sunday evening. But of those 7 people, we had 4 different theories. So we had no consensus, certainly nothing like 94, no 6 out of 7 people thinking the same thing. That did not happen last night. So there was no consensus. Although I think at least one other person in the think tank did think like I do, that yes, this is a young woman who had things going on and made maybe an unfortunate choice to go into the water that night. Now, what also came up, though, and coincidentally, this particular episode, this other episode came out with like a month later after Tiffany's came out, but it's a very similar disappearance. So if you're kind of new to Unfound and you haven't listened to all the episodes yet, but you just listened to the revisitation episode with Tiffany Daniels, I'm going to recommend to you that you go back and find the disappearance of J.R. Mollahan. He was a guy, was he in his 50s when he went missing? Who was from, where was it? Was it Virginia Beach or Newport News, somewhere like that in Virginia? And he went missing, and his truck was eventually found on a beach in North Carolina. It was one of these beaches where you're allowed to drive vehicles on to the beach, like onto the sand. Of course, you're not allowed to do that over in this part of Florida, although you can do that over at Daytona Beach, maybe in Fort Lauderdale over there on the Atlantic coast. You can't do that anywhere over here. But his truck was found on the beach, and that is also a disappearance that is unsolved to this day. His wife was the guest. I thought she did a great job back at the time. I've not spoken to her recently, so I don't think there's been any new movement on JR's disappearance. But if you're thinking, well, Tiffany's, I just listened to that, it's fresh in my mind, you might want to compare and contrast that with JR's, because like I said, similar situation where his vehicle was also found next to a large body of water, and see what you think about his disappearance. So once again, J.R. Mollahan, Molohon. That is an episode that came out in April of 2018. So just like about a month after the original Tiffany Daniels episode came out. And JR's disappearance did pop up during the think tank last night. Marty is not in trouble. D says, my mom is 84 and she would still be going if she could see. Yeah, my dad's eyesight, I mean, he needs glasses to read, but when he drives, he does not need glasses. Marty says, sorry, man, brought the kids to Legoland this past weekend. Didn't get home till late yesterday. Man, you take those kids everywhere, Marty. Boy, are you spoiling them. As far as when I can reveal things, probably next week, just waiting on the go-ahead. Yeah, everybody's going to love, I think, what you have to say about that. Everybody's saying hi to Marty. Yeah, Marty is very popular. And that doesn't surprise me at all. I've gotten to know Marty very well, and Marty is a character. Marty says, I wish I could have gotten in on that discussion. Yeah, we missed you. All of us regular think tank members missed you, and thank you for saying that, Marty. Yes, Virginia, Kathy is, by the way, is Unfound's historian. She's telling me, yes, it was Virginia, and JR was 62 when he went missing. Oh, thank you, Kathy. Thanks. So JR Mollahan and is the other one, and Tiffany Daniels, like I said. Probably would not have done a revisitation episode this past Friday if we have not had two hurricanes in 3 weeks. And we do have a new episode, a new Disappearances Friday that I'll talk about before I am done tonight. Some upcoming appearances that I will be making, two of which you will be able to view, and one is just for a school. The two that where you also will, if you'd like to partake, you can do that. Of course, we have a Dr. Telesco show coming up next Thursday on Halloween. It's her show. She can do what she wants. But as you know, I'll be appearing there live October 31st, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Fischler College of Education and School of Criminal Justice YouTube channel. And the topic will be anatomy of a disappearance. So once again, I will be going through an example of me going missing and how this all works. And you know me, if you've watched the other shows when I've done this, I try to vary it up. And I already have a plan of how I'm going to go missing next Thursday. So I can use my example, myself as an example. I really don't want to get into any of Unfound's disappearances, using them as examples for doing that. That seems a little too personal and stuff. So I'm just using myself as the test subject. And being that it's Halloween, I will be wearing at least a costume from the neck up. So I don't want to necessarily say I'm wearing a mask or anything, but being that it's Halloween, Dr. Telesco and I had thrown it out like a month or two ago about this. And I said, are we wearing costumes and everything? And I don't know if she's going to, but I have something planned. Something that's tasteful, even though I know we do that show. That's, of course, serious topic, disappearances. But I think it's something that will be tasteful. And so maybe all of you can be looking forward to that. So that's not this coming Thursday. That's next Thursday, Halloween, October 31st, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Fischler College of Education and School of Criminal Justice. Of course, there will be a reminder on the episode this coming Friday, and there will be a reminder on the live show next week. And like I said, it's live. So when Dr. Telesco and I get together, it's not recorded and then played. This will be something that's live. So I hope you will be in the chat. If you want to answer any questions, I hope you will show up. The other appearance that I'm going to making, but I'll have a lot more time to remind all of you of this, is I think it's going to be November 29th, this Friday. So the day after Thanksgiving. It's also going to be on a live show, and it'll be on a live show on a place that I've not appeared before, but I'm just going to kind of keep it as a secret for now because we don't have all the details worked out, and certainly things could fall through. This person approached me about appearing on his show live. So he has an agenda about what he wants to talk about regarding disappearances. And I told him, well, here's what I can talk about. And he gave me a couple different choices of when I could appear. And so I picked out November 29th. It's the evening of November 29th. So I will remind you of that again as we get closer. Like I said, nothing in stone right now, but right now I think it's going to happen. And it'll be a situation where I will be getting interviewed, probably a lot like when I appeared on Julia Cowley's podcast, The Consult. It'll be a little bit like that, more focused on particular types of disappearances. Not as wide ranging, maybe as Julie and I did, but kind of along the same lines. That's what I'm predicting. So be looking for that. Once again, November 29th. So we got like over a month till that happens. And like I said, I think it's going to be the day after Thanksgiving. Of course, that's Friday, but it'll be in the evening. It's going to be like, I guess, maybe like 8 p.m. Eastern. So there you go. So let's see what everybody is now saying. You're very welcome, Marty. I try to be a good dad. Those boys keep me on my toes. Yeah. Hazel says, I enjoy Dr. Telesco and her students. Amy agrees. Marty's telling Cash where he's from. Yeah, Marty is certainly, Marty's certainly not European. Just to hear him talk, you'd know where he is from in a second. Marty says, I got to see Ed in costume. Yeah, I got to see me in costume too, Marty. Amy says, Grace and her students are awesome. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, everybody is so, yeah, everybody's complimenting Marty, man. Marty's stealing the show tonight, fine by me. And, Hazel says, we'll be looking out for the costume for sure. Yes. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. It kind of goes with the season. I kind of thought through some things, and all I will say is like I said, I'm not wearing a full costume because I'm just a talking head. Like I'm here tonight. So it's really just from the neck up, but let's just say that it will fit the season. Moving on, I'm going to be making, if you will remember last semester, so going back to like March, was it March? It might have even been when I was up seeing my dad in March, that I made an appearance over Zoom at Texas A&M University speaking to journalism students. Maybe some of you remember that. I'm going to be doing that again, and that's going to be November 5th. Of course, none of you unfortunately can take part of that. It's Zoom. I'm being zoomed right into this classroom over there in Texas. But it's not going to be about true crime or disappearances. It's just about media and podcasting because, like I said, it's a journalism course of some type, intro to journalism, entry level, maybe mid-level. I don't remember. But it's really just the same thing. So I'm going to be talking about media issues and podcasting issues and ethics in journalism and how I think about what I do here over the past 8 years and reporting on disappearances and, testifying in a murder trial a couple times. By the way, I've not gotten any Steve Pankey letters recently, but I'll be talking about all of that during my appearance, just like I did last semester. But of course, it's a whole and brand new classroom of students. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'll let you know how it goes. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if the professor put that on some sort of YouTube channel or something. She could have, because all Zoom stuff is recorded. She could have, and I don't mind that. I don't know if she did or not. I have to look into that. Maybe I knew and I forgot. So if it's something that she does post somewhere where the public can view it, then I will make sure that I get a link to that if any of you are interested. If you'd like to see me talking about something kind of outside of disappearances and true crime, just talking about journalism and media and reporting and ethics and stuff like that regarding this particular profession, if you might find that interesting, I will try to see if she's going to eventually make it public or not. In fact, I have to put that on my list of things to do. I will email her and find out if that's going to be possible. So moving on. Let's see what everybody is saying here. Hazel says, you guys in the United States sent Halloween to the world. Well, you're welcome, Hazel. You're welcome. Halloween, fine. School proms. Marty and Sarah going back and forth about how New York is expensive. True. Hazel says, I was in school in the late 70s. I was in school all of the 80s. In fact, I graduated high school before the 90s came around. And all right, everybody's talking back and forth. Fine by me. And one more thing is that my assistant, Eric, due to some things going on in his life, has started his own show. And you can go find that at coldcaseweb.com. And I think his first episode just came out. I will admit, given that I've been a little busy with hurricanes and things, I've not partaken in it yet. But if you'd like to see what my assistant Eric is doing, please go to coldcaseweb.com. So that's coldcaseweb.com. And he has started some sort of audio podcast. I wish I knew more about it, but I've not listened to it yet, but I'm going to market it anyway. So if you want to check that out, I hope you will. I know Eric, of course, like any person putting a podcast together, wants as many listeners as possible. So go check his website out. Is it going? Maybe it's available on Spotify and iTunes. I have to admit that he hasn't told me all of the particulars on it. Not that he needs to. But I do know that he has tweeted about it and has posted about it in the discussion group. So please go check it out. coldcaseweb.com to check that out. And Lisa says, would love to watch that ethics class, Ed. Lisa, if I can get that to happen, I will surely make it happen. You know me, anytime I appear anywhere, I, of course, videoed myself when I've spoken to classes. You know that I've gotten the transcripts from when I testified in the Janelle Matthews trial twice. Anytime I make appearances, I try to make it possible that everybody can read or hear or watch what I've done. So I will try to see if that's going to happen or not. And certainly that is something that I would like to do more. You know, not just speaking about disappearances, but just speaking about just what I've experienced in the last 8 years of trying to negotiate how to interview people and not to step on any toes and not to ruin investigations and not to defame anybody and you know, trying to do this in the most ethical way possible, even though a lot of times we're talking about a lot of unknowns. And of course, in a lot of these disappearances, we're not even sure a crime was committed or not. So how do you go about reporting on something like that when you're not even sure what happened? It's tough. So I can certainly enjoy that topic, and I have nothing against speaking to other journalism classes. Like I said, just being a little busy doing a lot of other things regarding the podcast. So there you go. Got to check out Eric's pod. Yeah, you got to do that, Marty, and everybody else got to do that as well. And going back to what Lisa said about would love to watch an ethics class. You know, this is something that's very important to me. I don't know how obvious it is when you listen to the podcast. I know all of you, you know that I've spoken about, if you watch the live show enough or listen to it, you know that I have I'm very critical of all media. in the United States and how everybody goes about their business. I got up on my soapbox just recently with hurricane reporting here in West Florida and everything. There is something about how it's reported on and how it's all done that just seems a little over the top to me, to be honest. And I'm a reporter too. I've been doing it. I'm not a newbie now. I'm doing this 8 years. So this just isn't somebody talking out his butt. But I have complaints about political reporting, I've been sports reporting, entertainment reporting. And I think I can do that now that I'm a reporter myself. And so getting back to the podcast itself, for all of you who listen, you know how important ethics are to me. I don't know if people who just listen to the podcast and don't partake in anything else that I didn't realize it. But I can tell you that there's a reason that I spend so much time. I mean, these, you've heard about these outlines that I create for these interviews. You've heard about them, but I know few of you have ever seen them. But every outline, every interview I've ever done for this podcast, there has been an outline going way back to the first one, going way back to when I interviewed Megan Linez from the Charlie Project and Ken Maines from his YouTube channel from back in 2017. Even Steve Pankey, he had an outline that we were following, as you now all know now. Everybody. The ethics part of this podcast comes in when I am putting those outlines together. And this is why it's not uncommon for it to take like 3 hours to put one of those outlines together. And those outlines are probably only about 3 pages. And it's just like you might imagine outline, like if you were doing a book report in high school, before you write it, you do the outlines, the intro and everything else, like 1, then A, then B, then sub little 1 and sub little B and everything. I do it almost exactly like that for every interview. And even though they're only like 3 pages each, so it's not a ton of words. When you're doing an outline, it's 3 pages. There's not a lot of words. But it's so important to me that we cover each topic of the disappearance in the right way, in the right order, asking the right questions and making sure things don't get out of hand and everything else. That's why it takes so long. And that's where the ethics, because I really have to think, because when I'm doing the outline, I'm actually running through the future interview in my head of how it's going to go and what problems we might run into in this particular topic or that particular topic. And so I'm preparing myself should those things happen. Now, granted, they're recorded, so if you make any mistakes, anything gets taken out. Still, I'm running the interview in my head as I type out the interview. And that's where the ethics come in. Can we talk about this? How are we going to talk about this in a way that's the right way to do it? Whereas, as you know, I think, a lot of people just wing it. They just have the guest on and they just start talking about the disappearance. I guess you can do it that way. It's a lot. In some ways, it's a lot easier. I would never do something like that. And we also know that there are people who will just talk to somebody and then they'll just record what the person says, then dice it up and put it in the order that they need. I don't find that to be very good reporting either. So this is the reason I do this. And so the ethics of what I do, I guess what I'm saying, by the time I'm already doing the interview with the guest, I've already worked out the ethics in my head regarding what we're talking about. And even though we go deeper than any other place does regarding disappearances, we name names and everything else, but we do it in a way where nobody's going to get in trouble. And that's, that's the way we're going to keep doing it. So this is kind of what I talk about, like when I spoke over Zoom at Texas A&M last semester. And I'm sure it's going to come up here in 2 weeks on November 5th. So if you're ever wondering about that, you hear all about these outlines. Well, what are these outlines? I kind of explained it to you and how much work goes into them. If you looked at one of them, you'd think, well, this thing, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It doesn't look like it's that big of a deal. It takes me like 3 hours to put one of those together. It does, because it can be a little brain frying. It really can. Thank you, Carol. You are generous. And by the way, I have to thank, who was it up here? Lisa, thank you. You are very generous as well, hitting the super chat button. Thank you so much, both of you. You are very kind. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate it. And Carol, by the way, is also a think tank member. Thank you so much. Hello, Cindy. This is Fishing. Well, Fishing, going by Cindy. Hello, Fishing Cindy. How are you? Cindy, or is it Cindy Fishing? Good to see you tonight. Thanks for making the time. Appreciate it. Marty says, I agree with you. The media has gotten out of hand. Sarah says, Ed just sticks to the facts. I try to. Thank you. But Cass says, many do not. Marty agrees with Sarah. Jill is in the house tonight. Hello, Jill, coming to us from the Western United States. Not winging more, not giving. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that, Cash. I'm just trying to be nice. I like how you gather information without judging people. I'm always ready to talk about any disappearance. That is for sure. And in fact, that'll probably be part of the Texas A&M presentation, and probably will be part of the November 29th show as well. Maybe. Yeah. And Cash is saying, yeah, you got to have empathy. Many people are pure money and or attention. Yep. Social media is certainly good for that. So there you go. Let's get to now, finally, I'm going to devote the last hour to these headline items. The Mount Everest Mystery, Zelig Williams, and this Denver airport disappearance. And once again, if anybody has any questions, anything tonight, if you've ever wanted to ask Ed a question, we got time to do it, I think, with over the next hour. Totally up to you. All right, Mount Everest. And this is so interesting because this story is interesting to me because I did a Found episode for YouTube and Patreon supporters in which I covered the other half of this disappearance that was solved. And so here we now are with the second half that is now seemingly solved. And I didn't plan it that way. So here we go. This comes to us from London. London Calling. What was that? The Clash? No. Yeah, the Clash. Climbers believe they have found the partial remains of a British mountaineer who might or might not have been one of the first people to climb Mount Everest or reach the top. A century after their attempt on the world's highest peak, according to an expedition led by National Geographic. Ahead of the release of a documentary film, the television channel said Friday, this is a couple weeks ago, that the expedition found a foot encased in a sock embroidered with A.C. Irvine and a boot that could be that of Andrew Sandy, nicknamed Sandy Irvine, who disappeared at the age of 22 along with his co-climber, the legendary George Mallory, near Everest Peak on June 8th, 1924. For this Found episode, I talked about the disappearance and then the discovery of George Mallory that took many, many, many years. Well, his partner in this climbing expedition, George Mallory, was found, but his partner was not found. This is the partner they are now talking about. The pair, who were seeking to become the first people to conquer Everest, were last seen around 800 feet from the summit. Their fate has been debated by climbers and historians alike, with some postulating that they had stood atop the world before disappearing on the way down. In his final letter to his wife, Ruth, before he vanished on Mount Everest a century ago, the 37-year-old Mallory once famously said he wanted to conquer Everest because it's there. tried to ease her worries, even as he said his chances of reaching the world's highest peak were 50-1 against us. Mallory's body was found in 1999, but there was no evidence that could point to the two having reached Everest summit at 29,032 feet. By the way, that summit, the height of it changes every year. It goes up every year, just very, very slowly, because that's a place where plates are coming together, and those mountains are a factor of those plates. So every year, Mount Everest gets a little, like an inch taller. Forget what the rate is, just a little bit taller every year. There's no such evidence, though the apparent discovery of Irvine's remains could narrow the search for a Kodak Vest camera lent to the climbers by expedition member Howard Somerville. For mountaineers, it's equivalent of the Holy Grail. The possibility of photographic proof that the two did reach the summit almost 3 decades, so almost 30 years before New Zealander, there you go, Hazel, Edmund Hillary and Nepalese Sherpa Tenzing Norgay got there on May 29th of 1953. So over 70 years ago. So right now, as far as the record books go, Hillary and Norgay are seen as the first people to get to the top of Everest. However, there is a belief that Mallory and this other guy who was just found, his remains were found, actually got there first, but then died coming on the way back down. The sock and boot were found at a lower altitude than Mallory's remains on the central Rongbuk Glacier below the north face of Mount Everest. This was a monumental and emotional moment for us and our entire team on the ground, and we just hope this can finally bring peace of mind to his relatives in the climbing world at large, said climb team member and National Geographic explorer Jimmy Chin. What a great name. Chin did not say exactly where the remains were found because he wants to discourage trophy hunters, but he's confident that other items, maybe even the camera, are nearby. It certainly reduces the search area, he told National Geographic. The Irvine family has volunteered to compare DNA results with the remains to confirm his identity. His great niece and biographer Julie Summers said she reacted emotionally when she found out about the discovery. I have lived with this story since I was 7 years old, when my father told us about the mystery of Uncle Sandy on Everest. When Jimmy told me that he saw the name A.C. Irvine on the label on the sock inside the boot, I found myself moved to tears. It was and remained an extraordinary and poignant moment. The find made by Chin, along with climbers and filmmakers Eric Rupke and Mark Fisher, was reported to the London-based Royal Geographical Society, which jointly organized Mallory and Irvine's expedition along with the Alpine Club. So this society has been around for like 100 years. As joint organizers of the 1924 Everest expedition, the society deeply appreciates the respect Jimmy Chin's team has shown Sandy Irvine's remains and their sensitivity towards Sandy's family members and others connected to the expedition. The partial remains are now in the possession of the China Tibet Mountaineering Association, which is responsible for climbing permits on Everest's north side. So you just can't show up one day and decide you're going to go up to the top of Mount Everest. There are fees that must be paid. So Cash saying a lot here. There's lots of unfound on Everest that's unrecovered. Yeah, Hawaii moves a millimeter. That's true. Yeah, like the pole expedition. Yeah, a lot of people died trying to get to the South and North Poles as well. Like I stated before I started this news article, I did a found episode. Once again, this is if you're only a Patreon member at the $5 a month level or above, or you are a member of this, not just a subscriber, but a member of the YouTube channel, then you know this series Found that I've been doing for over 2 years now, where I cover disappearances that were unsolved and then got solved. So, for example, I did the Titanic, how it was missing from 1912 until 1985. Why was that? What happened? What was going on during that whole time? How was it found? Well, I did one on George Mallory because he went missing going up or coming down from the top of Mount Everest. And his body was found, as it said in this article, in 1999. And so I went over what his plans were for he and Mr. Irvine to get to the top. They go missing. What was everything that was done in the meantime? Articles that were written about their disappearances. And then I cover how Mallory's remains were found in 1999. So that is the Found series. So I call it From Disappearance to Discovery. And I've been having a lot of fun with that because of the hurricane situation. I was not able to do one at the end of September, but I'm certainly planning on doing one, get back into the rhythm of things for the end here at the end of October. Now, what this article, now, of course, as you would imagine, there are a lot of articles that have been written about this discovery of A.C. Irvine, and it, of course, most likely is he. What's not included in this article, but was in another one, is that Irvine was found 7,000 feet below where Mallory was found. So 7,000 feet, if you don't know, a mile is 5,280 feet. So even though they were together, Irvine, and they probably died at the same time, maybe for the same reason, falling or something. Irvine was found over a mile away below where Mallory was. And the thinking is what happened is that actually at one time, Irvine was much, much way higher up on the mountain. But what happens with these mountains, if you don't know, and this is, this is the geek coming out in me, that what happens on these mountains that are that high, that have snow on them, this also happens like in the Andes Mountains down in South America, is they have these glaciers. And what happens is the glacier is always, it's always moving, but it's always repairing itself. So you may look at a glacier, of course, it's moving very slowly. It's actually moving at a very low pace. And what is happening as it gets lower and lower is it gets to warmer temperatures, it thaws away. But up there at the top of the glacier, near the top of the mountain, of course, it's snowing and everything else, a new part of the glacier is being formed. So what can happen over many, many years is, like, for example, with Irvine, what might have happened is he dies and his body, his remains are at the top of this glacier. And then over the time, his body gets encased in the glacier and it's slowly moving as the glacier is moving, and the glacier is melting at the bottom that is being reformed at the top. But his body is right in the middle of this glacier. And then at some point, it gets down to that part that is thawing. And then the glacier kind of spits things out at the bottom. This is a very well-known phenomenon regarding mountains and a kind of geological formation. And there have been many plane crashes that have been the same thing, where a plane is run into a mountain like in the Andes. Of course, they can't go get it because it's too remote and everything. And what happens? The plane eventually gets encased in a glacier, and it moves along with the glacier. Then eventually, years later, decades later, that crash plane and probably the occupants inside it get spit out at the bottom. And then one day people go up there, oh, there's a plane, and it looks like it just appeared out of nowhere, when really, because of the thawing of the glacier at the bottom, the plane kind of just falls out of the glacier. This kind of stuff fascinates me. So they're thinking this is what happened with this Irvine guy, that at one point he was at the top of the glacier, then finally worked his body, was in the glacier, and then when it got to the point that it thawed at the bottom, his body falls out, and that's when it got found. It couldn't be found in the meantime because it was hidden inside the glacier. Very interesting. Now, one other point that I want to make before I move away from this story, if you really ever want to be creeped out, being that this is the Halloween season with all sorts of scary movies, and one of my favorite horror movies, The Fog, with one of my favorite women of all time, Adrienne Barbeau. She's not quite to Bo Derek level, but Adrienne's up there. And as it, it's one of those things, you're a little boy. Of course, I was been like 78, 78, 79, 8, 9 years old. I think this kind of sticks with you. This is the reason that I've mentioned Bo Derek in posts on Facebook once in a while, or Adrienne Barbeau, maybe a couple other women who were popular sex symbols at the time. Those were very impressionable years. But if you want to, being that this is a Halloween season, it's the creepy season. If you want to creep yourself out, just do a Google search for bodies left on Mount Everest. I don't know how many people realize that how many bodies are just left there because it's unsafe to try to get them, because they've become frozen to the terrain. And any hiker, any mountaineer who goes up to the top of Mount Everest, makes it to the top and comes down, passes many dead bodies. And the weird thing is, these bodies look like they're still in their clothes and everything, but these people are dead. They look like they're alive, but they're on their clothes. They still have like their masks on and their hats on and their jackets on, boots on, everything, but they're dead. So if you want to creep yourself out, just do a search, the dead people on Mount Everest. And if you go to Google Images, it'll show them to you. I can't imagine. I mean, that doesn't interest me at all. I don't like cold weather anyway. So that doesn't interest me at all. But it has to be so creepy for those people who choose to do that, to go up there and be passing people some of these, of course, bodies have been up there for decades. It's really, really creepy. So there you go. That is that story. The Mallory Found episode was one of my favorites. I'm a little obsessed with Everest. Well, then about the dead bodies up there, Lisa, of course. I've never seen the film. Seen the movie Alive. I don't think I've seen it either. Marty says the Found series is phenomenal. Marty, I agree. Once again, it's another reason. Patreon.com/Unfound podcast, or hit the join button below my face if you're watching on YouTube tonight, and you can find all those Found episodes immediately. Yeah, right. About the Argentinian team who crashed in the Andes. Yeah, right. Mallory did not kill Irvine. They died together, probably from a fall. He did not kill him. Yeah. The Fog. Yes, The Fog. Such a great movie. Jamie Lee Curtis, Hal Holbrook, Janet Leigh, who, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis's mother is in that movie with her. Such a fantastic movie. I know, like in John Carpenter's catalog of movies, it's not considered to be very high up there, but I think it's really good. And of course, The Thing is fantastic as well. Yeah, The Fog is a classic, Marty says. Yeah, very creepy, Ed. Yeah, this got macabre very quick. Yeah, sometimes we have to do that, Cash. Sometimes. Very true. The famous green pants guy is on the mountain, right? Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah, and you're right about that, Marty. Yeah, there's a few. Yes, green pants man. So there you go. Looks like A.C. Irvine has been found 100 years after he went missing. That is something. All right, moving on. Zelig Williams. The family of a missing Broadway dancer, whose credits include Hamilton and MJ the Musical, is expanding its search beyond the South Carolina hiking trailhead where authorities found his car earlier this month. Zelig Williams, 28 years old, was last seen on October 3rd at his home in Columbia, South Carolina, according to a statement from the Richland County Sheriff's Department. The family filed a missing person report the following day after he failed to contact them. The performer's mother, Kathy Williams, and cousin Mayoki Corbett Jacobs told CNN's Victor Blackwell on Saturday that search will go beyond the parking lot where the vehicle was found, more than 20 miles from Williams' home. Searchers will look on both sides of the cross-state Palmetto Trail leading to major roads. As a family, we've been searching. We've searched that area ourselves on foot more than once, and now we're looking to expand our search, said Corbett Jacobs. The hiking trailhead is close to Conagry National Park, which is popular with canoeists and kayakers. Corbett Jacobs believes Williams may have sought out a spot to go walking as the family loves a good walking trail. Kathy Williams says she believes her son is in danger. The family has begged the public to alert authorities to anyone matching the dancer's description. The family's private investigators continue to get leads, and they follow these leads, Corbett Jacobs said Saturday, noting that someone had recently sent the pictures of someone who resembles Zelig Williams, but it turned out to not be him. Richland County Sheriff Leon Lott said his deputies have used every means of manpower and technology that's available to try to locate Williams as seeking the public's help. He didn't wander off. This is definitely a missing persons case with suspected foul play, Corbett Jacobs said. At a news conference Wednesday, Corbett Jacobs said the family believes at this time of his disappearance, Williams had stopped taking his medication. She later told CNN the prescription is for his mental health. Williams is his mother's last surviving child after she lost both two of her daughters in a car accident in 2004. Wow. He told me when he danced, he feels his sisters with him, Kathy Williams told Blackwell, and he is an awesome dancer, amazing dancer, and that's what he loved doing, so that keeps him going. When asked what she would say to Williams, this cousin said, we'll tell Zelig to hold on to God, hold on to your faith, and find your way home. We'll not stop looking for you until we bring you home. All right. Well, we have to remember he went missing on October 3rd, so that's 18 days ago. And of course, what first comes to mind is we have to remember that Hurricane Helene not only did a lot of damage in North Carolina, but South Carolina saw some of its effects as well. And the way I'm thinking about the timeline, it does seem that he went missing maybe right around that time. We have to remember that. Of course, what is that going to get everybody's attention, maybe all of you in this live show audience tonight, maybe more than the general public, is the admission that Zelig Williams had some sort of mental health issue and had stopped taking his medication. That is not what you want to hear for any disappearance. It's bad news. Bad. I don't mean to be negative, but we just know this. This is just statistically true. It's one of those things where it's like if somebody goes missing, let's just say it's a guy, and his wallet, his keys, his phone are also left at home. Somebody goes over to his apartment and the door is open. It's closed, but it's not locked. They walk in, the wallet's there, the phone there, the keys there, his ID's there, his glasses are there. We all know that's a horrible sign. Now, doesn't necessarily mean it's foul play. Would have to know a little bit more certainly a lot more about the person who went missing. But we just know there are certain things about disappearances. When you read them in an article, you just get to know this is a bad sign. With Zelig Williams, knowing that his family even admitting it, that he had some sort of mental health issue and he decided he didn't want to take his medication anymore. I don't care if it was schizophrenia. I don't care if it was bipolar disorder. I don't care if it was for depression. It's bad. So what I would say, if the Zelig's family, the Williams family, is out there and they're doing media and they're paying attention and they come across this live show tonight, you should know I don't know anything more about this disappearance than any of you do. I'm just reading news articles that are public. I think what I've learned about this type of disappearance is, as you know, where many of you already know where I'm going with this. It's not totally useless, but it's almost useless to try to search more than a mile in any particular direction in a situation like this. Now, if there are reasons to believe he's not the one who put his car there at this trailhead, at this park or whatever, then that changes things. But the way I read this article, they seem to think that it was Zelig who drove his own car to this park. And of course, it very well may be that he was meeting somebody and that went wrong or something. But that's not the idea that I'm getting the way this is all being explained in this particular article. It seems to me they think that he drove his car there by himself, wasn't meeting anybody, and went off into this area, this wildlife area, this wilderness area, this trail area, what kind of park, whatever it is. Because of that, a message to them. It is almost totally useless to search more than a mile in any direction. I know you want to. I know you're probably going to anyway. But the odds of you, of course, I hope he's alive. But being that he's been 15 days and, the only way he could be surviving for 15 days out there is if he actually made it back to civilization and is staying in a hotel room or with some friend who's covering for him or something. Let's just admit it. But if you think he is deceased, when it comes to statistics and physics and geography and everything else, you go a mile in every direction and you cover that mile radius or in every direction as best as humanly possible, because you get outside of that and the odds of your searchers coming across his remains, if he is out there and he's deceased, the odds are astronomically low. And I know you want to search. I get it. You don't want to leave. You don't want to leave a family member behind, just like armies don't like leaving fellow soldiers, Marines, whoever behind. I understand. But there is a method to the madness of trying to find somebody out in the wilderness like this. And the statistics overwhelmingly say that most people who disappear in situations like this, where we don't believe it's foul play, and it could be some sort of a mental health issue or suicide issue, whatever you want to call it, they're usually found within a mile of their car. And so I would go a mile in every direction and hit everything you can as well as you can. You start thinking about going outside a mile, you start having to look at the square miles that you're covering and everything else. So it's very sad, and it's easy for me to talk. But I even still, as I think all of you know, or most of you know, I even still feel the same way about Jason Landry. I still insist that one of these days he will be found deceased within a mile of where his car was wrecked, even though I know that all of that area was searched. It's just how these things are. It's just how they work out. Why that is, not quite sure. I'm not there on the ground to see why places get missed, areas get missed. Could have something to do, of course, with private property, all sorts of different reasons. We don't know what's going through that person's head, especially if it's a person, it seems like Zelig was, who had mental health issues if he wasn't on his medication. I'm sure if he's on his medication, he just seemed like, your average jolly human being. But if he's not on his medication, let's just admit he was taking his medication for a reason. And I continue to insist. The other point I want to make about his disappearance is that given that we are an overprescribed civilization, at least here in the United States, especially when it comes to mental health stuff, that it's become too easy for doctors just to prescribe, whatever it would be, some sort of medication to make a person feel happier or level something out. I happen to believe I hope to at least make it to like 85 years old or something. Of course, if I lose my mind well before that, then I don't want to be around here anymore. If my body and my mind start to break down well before that, then I won't want to be here. But if I'm like my dad, who's 87, almost 88, and he'll still drive and hear and see and think and do all the stuff that he likes to do, then certainly I'd still like to be here. But if I make it to 85 years old, I can guarantee you this kind of disappearance is going to be way more common then than it is now. Simply because we have a lot more people who, to get through their daily lives, they have to rely on something. And if they don't take that particular pill or whatever, then they make some choices that are risky. And we have to remember that this isn't like cholesterol medicine. For example, I've been taking cholesterol medicine not quite 20 years now because I'm one of those people, just genetically. If I don't, my cholesterol will be high. And then, of course, that increased heart attack risk and everything else. The weird thing is my brother Brian doesn't have that issue at all. He's had other issues. But, I've been taking a very, very low dose of cholesterol medicine for about 16 years or something like that. Well, this isn't like that. I mean, I could go without taking my cholesterol medicine for a month, and it's no big deal. It's not like I'm automatically putting myself at risk. Now, if I don't take it for 2 months or 6 months or a year or 18 months, then yes, probably my risk of having some sort of heart issue goes up eventually. But it doesn't in the moment. It doesn't that day or the next day or a week from now or even a month from now. Of course, we know when it comes to medication like mental health medication, it's not like that. You don't take it or you stop taking it pretty soon. Maybe not that day, maybe not the next day. Eventually, though, very quickly, you're going to start having a tough time managing your life. Now, even though I will continue to say, I still think we're overprescribed. I still think that, even though I'm not a medical professional, I'm inclined to believe that a lot of these things that they're just giving pills to people for, these are things that can be worked out in other ways that don't require medication, I think. So, it's very sad. And of course, we've covered quite a few disappearances like this. People don't want to take their medication. We maybe think like Renee Lamanna, who had mental health issues, and her sister was doing her best to take care of her. Renee didn't want to go along with the program. She runs off from there, that house in Ocean City, New Jersey. She's never seen again. That's just one that comes to me off the top of my head. So, so there's that. I just you see these trends, and I continue to believe as I continue to cover disappearance from now to next year, that a year after, however long I can do this, that the foul play part of disappearances, the percentages are going to continue to go down a little bit because the overall violence rate, at least in the United States, has been going down for a long time now, whereas the suicide rate has gone up. The addiction rate has gone up. The mental health issue rate has gone up. So those are going to start taking more and more of that overall disappearance pie. So you're going to hear more about more disappearances like Zelig Williams. And we already have a lot like this. It's just that his is getting attention because, he's a performer. He was in some very well-known musicals in New York City. He's going to get a more attention than your average person. Well, there are a lot of average people average, quote unquote, that are going missing just like Zelig is for the same exact reasons. Because as you all know, I read disappearance news every day. Yeah. Yeah, Kathy's not searching bodies. Yeah, I think Kathy likes it just exactly where she is. That's pretty funny. Lori says, go Cowboys. Yeah, your Cowboys beat my Steelers, Lori, but wow. After they took a shellacking last week. I looked up the bodies. They're creepy. Yes, I know, Sarah. I agree with you. It is a medical professional, former medical professional. Sarah agrees with me about overprescribing. Harvey is not a medical professional. Suicide happens. Yeah. Sarah works. I didn't know you did that. You work for 988. I didn't know that. I didn't know that, Sarah. Thank you for sharing. So Zelig Williams, of course, I'm hopeful that he is alive, but I just don't know. The odds of that have to be very, very low. All right, let's talk about this Denver airport disappearance. And this is another one that sounds mental health issues involved. Jesse George was getting ready to start a new life when he disappeared. The family members of a man from Oregon are searching for answers after he disappeared while traveling through Denver International Airport. Jesse George from Medford, Oregon, left his home state on Sunday, October 13th, to travel on a one-way ticket to Arkansas, where he was set to land the following day. George, 35 years old, made it to Denver and was set to catch a connecting flight, but he never boarded the plane to his final destination. His sister, Brianna Winsberry, spoke to Fox 31 Denver about her brother's mysterious disappearance and explained that he'd been moving to Arkansas for a chance to start over. After he landed in Denver, Winsberry said George encountered some ID issues while trying to go through security with a temporary ID. I'm going to come back to this. The 35-year-old is said to have stormed off and called his father in frustration. He was very upset, and that was the last time any of us had any communications with him. I think him storming off falls back to his mental health, she added. The family are now left wondering what happened to George, whose luggage is still at Denver's airport. Police have been alerted to the missing man, though he reportedly hasn't made any phone calls or used his credit cards, leaving few clues as to where he might be. In a Facebook post, Winsberry added that airline officials and airport police claimed George made no attempts to go through TSA again nor made any contact with officials. Winsberry expressed her hope that sharing the news of her brother's disappearance would help the family track him down, saying, I hope someone can locate him and get him in contact with me so I can help figure out how to get him home. In a message directed at George, the sister added, I love you. Come home. Get a hold of me. You're scaring all of us, and it would be nice if you gave us a call. Winsberry told the Mail Out Online that disappearing is out of character for her brother. He's very quick to be inconvenienced. And when he's inconvenienced, he's even quicker to help have someone solve his problems. So it's unlike him to just go MIA, missing in action. Denver International Airport is one of the busiest airports in the world, and last year beat its own record for the number of passengers served in 1 year, totaling 70 million in 2023. I was one of those 70 million. According to the airport's website, it operates on 53 square miles of land, making the airport twice the size of Manhattan. There are some things that catch my channel. First of all, Hazel, since this CI channel brought out all the snapped 48 hours, etc., it leads people to looking more at criminal event rather than the personal reasons. That's certainly true. Hazel says these airline disappearances are so nuts. Cash says it's in the shape of a swastika, creepy horse paintings and stuff. I have to admit, having been through the airport 3 times in the past 3 years, I didn't notice any of that. Yeah. Now, how about those Chiefs 6-0? Lisa says, yeah. Lisa, yeah. Here's something that I don't understand, and Charlie, maybe you can give your opinion on this. It's unclear to me why he would need to show his ID again at the airport if he was getting a connecting flight. It's a little unclear to me on that. My thinking has always been, once you, kind of get into the airport system, once you, like, if I go to Tampa and I go through TSA, get the bags checked, get on my flight and fly to Denver, and then let's say I have a connecting flight from Denver to LA, I don't have to go through TSA again. In fact, my bags, of course, usually the bags are just, sent directly from Tampa. They're on the plane. They get put on the other plane. They show up in LA just like I will. I don't have to go through TSA again or have to show my ID or anything. So I'm a little confused as to why he would have done that. Now, I will say, on the other hand, if he were coming from another country and landing at one of our international airports, let's say he lands at JFK and then is going to take an American flight or, a United States flight, not American, maybe it could be an American or Southwest or whatever, from there to his final destination, then you might have to go through security again, going from like the international section to the national section in the United States. I could see that. But if you're traveling within the United States, my thought was always, once you get into the airport system, once you go through TSA, that's the last time you have to do that. So I'm not sure what's going on here regarding him having to show his ID again. Did he somehow stray out of there, got misdirected, got lost, decided to go outside or something? Now, if he did, go back, went past the TA checkpoint going out of the airport, and then going past baggage claim, went outside to do whatever, and then came back in, then yes, he would have to go through TSA again. But then I start wondering, well, what's really going on here? Because even if you're a smoker, they have smoking sections within the airport, so you don't have to go outside. So any insight on that, Charlie, being that I know that you've used that airport many, 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 many times? Right. Shouldn't have needed to go back through security unless international. May have accidentally taken the train the whole way back. I will admit that train in that airport can be confusing, Charlie. That is true. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that kind of answers the question there. And I'm not going to try to explain it to everybody, but yeah, it's like a one-way train that goes back and forth like this, and it has multiple gates and things. So maybe that's that. Carol says starting a new life doesn't bode well for missing persons cases. It doesn't. Yeah. So that's one of the things that gets me. And of course, the other thing, as it's stated right there at the end, it's on 53 square miles of land. I know it's like out there when you're landing there, it's like out in the middle of nowhere. And the weird thing, the way, at least coming from the Greeley side of the airport, you can see like the control tower for like a half hour before you ever get to the airport. Because you come down and you have to go like the whole way around the airport to like enter it. So you see this tower for like, you see the airport tower where the controller's on. You're like, oh, I'm almost there. No, you still got like a half hour to go. It's really weird. So it seems to me that given that airports have cameras, they should be able to track this guy. We can go back to like, Remember that young woman and her boyfriend, ran off with his child and they went to Mexico. If they found her at Seattle's airport, on video leaving there and saw her get in a Uber or whatever it was and leave the airport. Why hasn't this been done for this guy? Maybe they've checked and he's not on any of them. I guess that could be. It's not, and it's also one of those things that, did he just walk away from the airport? Now, this would not be crazy if it was Las Vegas. I mean, if it's Las Vegas, its airport, you can walk from the Las Vegas airport onto the Strip in about 15 minutes. That's how it's right. Of course, when the airport was built, it wasn't in the center of the city, but it is now. And so if you ever fly to Las Vegas, yes, it's probably easier to just take a taxi or Uber or whatever. But you can conceivably walk from the airport right onto the Strip, like right where the Tropicana, got demolished in the last couple of weeks. That's not that far of a walk. Whereas when you're talking about Denver's airport, it's exactly the opposite. So Charlie's saying Denver is all non-smoking. All right. So I guess we have to be open to the idea that if he were a smoker, he would have had to have left the building and then come back in and gone through the process all over again. Okay. Okay, maybe that, but then the issue is, did he really have an ID issue? I don't know. I have to admit, and I have this in my notes, that even though I know the way this story is written and what they're trying to say here, I can't get around the idea that this was planned. We start, as somebody already stated, you start hearing about somebody starting a new life, and this person just happens to get lost at an airport, goes missing in an airport, doesn't get a connecting flight and everything else. I start thinking this person really never had a plan to go to Arkansas in the first place. And this was just part of some sort of ruse that this guy had already cooked up in his head. Now, it very well may be that he could still be alive. I'm not saying this automatically means that he walked off away from the airport and committed suicide on airport land. I'm not saying that at all. But I would not be surprised if he just meant, you know what? I don't want to live in Arkansas. I want to live in Denver. And no offense to my assistant, Emily, who's from Arkansas. But you know what? Probably given the choice, I'd probably rather want to live in the Denver area than anywhere in Arkansas too. Just me. So there's that. So if his family is listening, catches this live show somehow, what I would counsel them on is, I think you have to be open to the idea that he somehow planned this. That this is something that was not an accident or something. I mean, seriously, he was so mad about it that he just stormed off. This is something that could not be reconciled at the airport. Was his ID really that bad that it got rejected? This is not something that couldn't be worked out somehow. This almost sounds to me like he was trying to create something as a reason that the people would think one thing when he really did something different. No offense to Arkansas, right? I have a lot of reasons. We've covered a lot of disappearances there that I get along with the people there very well. Covered a lot of disappearances. Families have been great and everything else, but not probably my kind of state to live in. Hello, David Lucas. How are you tonight? Fellow disc golfer Dave Lucas getting in on the chat for the first time ever tonight. Look at you, Dave. You should sing Iron Maiden to facilitate that possibly. Eddie got him Interesting situation notwithstanding. Yeah, no, I'm not singing any Iron Maiden. Most of it's out of my range right now, David, but not forever. Not forever. So, so once again, to this young man's family, Jesse George, he's 35. I would just hold out hope that this was actually some sort of plan, and he decided, you know what, I'm going to live in Denver instead. And you got to somehow be able to get, of course, this is October 13th. It's only 8 days ago. You got to get video. TSA should check it. The airport police should check it and see exactly where he went. Did he have money? Did he have a credit card that he could pay, or an app on his phone for an Uber, Lyft, taxi, or whatever? And that should be the best way to figure out where he went. Now, of course, if he walked away, that's a long walk to town. And of course, could have gotten picked up by somebody. But the difference, with Zelig Williams, I'm thinking probably is deceased. I'm not thinking that with Jesse George, at least not yet. Not yet in this. So I got a couple minutes. I will cover a story now that's not in the headlines, and it has to do with an antique dealer who is missing. A Virginia man's two sons are desperate for answers after their father vanished in April. So we're going back about 6 months. And they believe some nefarious activity may be at play in their father's unexpected disappearance. Kenny Turner, 79 years old, was living a quiet life as an antique shop owner in Fieldale, Virginia, when he disappeared on April 12th. I think somebody picked him up and took him somewhere, but where, I don't know, Turner's son, Michael Turner, told Fox News Digital. For both of his vehicles to still be at his home and his wallet, it was like he was riding out and coming back home because he left the porch light on. Michael added that his father's front door does not close all the way unless it is pulled really hard, and the door was shut this morning. He realized, and the door was shut the morning he realized his father was gone. He actually had to close the door, Michael said. So my thing is, somebody picked him up and did something with him, and I don't know what and who. The week prior, once again, what do we talk? We're always at Unfound analyzing those days and weeks leading up to a disappearance, people stopping their medication, people talking about starting new lives. Well, here you go in this story. The week prior to his disappearance, Kenny had just been in the hospital for high blood pressure. So Michael and his brother Brian had been checking in on their father pretty frequently to make sure he was taking his medication and recovering. Michael had visited his father home the Wednesday before he vanished on Saturday, and Brian had seen his father the Friday before. I don't know what to think, Bryant said. He noted that Kenny's foot was swollen the night before he went missing, making him think he wouldn't just walk away from home the evening before his disappearance. Bryant told his father he should sit down, relax, and watch TV. He'd be back in the morning to help him with the sidewalk sale Kenny was planning on having at his antique shop on Saturday morning. I locked the door and I left, the son said. Michael and Bryant were going to help their father set up his sidewalk sale together on Saturday morning. Instead, for several hours, the brothers drove back and forth separately from the antique shop to Kenny's home, trying to find Kenny, thinking maybe he'd gone out to breakfast or maybe he was with the other brother, until they realized something was wrong. Michael said it was out of character for their father not to be in contact with them, but especially with his sister. They called police on Saturday afternoon around 3 to 4 to file a missing persons report. Police did get a grid search and a helicopter search covering a radius of about 25 miles. The Henry County Sheriff's Office is still investigating Kenny's disappearance, but has not found any signs of the missing father, nor have they named any suspects in connection with his vanishing. For him to be gone this long and not get in contact with me or my brother, I've got a feeling he's dead somewhere. Adding that he believes someone may have killed his father. Michael's asking anyone with information about his father's disappearance to come forward more than 6 months after Kenny vanished. Michael said what his family wants most now is closure. Anyone with information about Turner's disappearance is to contact the Henry County Sheriff's Office at 276-638-8751. I would say the chances of this guy being murdered are very, 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 very low. I read a couple different articles regarding this disappearance. In no place do the brothers ever state why somebody would have wanted to kill their father or harm their father or anything like that. So, where my mind goes with a disappearance like this is, if people, older people or people just in general of any age, if they start thinking that they could, because of health reasons or mental health reasons, physical health reasons or mental health reasons, start to think that they are starting to be a burden on people, whether their families, their family, their friends, the neighbors, their doctors, or whoever else. Some people will take drastic measures to make sure they aren't a burden on anyone anymore. And I even know with my dad, who's going to be 88, it's very fortunate that he's still able to do all of these things that he can do. But he has told me if he can't drive anymore, then he doesn't want to be here. If he can't get out, my dad, I don't get cabin fever. My dad does. Every morning he gets up, he has to be going somewhere. He gets cabin fever very, very easily. And so if he can't get in his car anymore and drive here, drive there, it's going to be a very, 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 very sad day. And this is kind of where, my mind goes with this. He's having some health issues. He has this store, but now his sons are having to help him out with it. And he's having this foot issue, which sounds dangerous to me. And then, of course, what I also might think about is when you have a swollen foot like that, if you start getting blood clots, one of those blood clots could go through your body and end up in your brain, and you have an aneurysm or a stroke or something where you're doing things you don't know that you're doing them. Very common. Very, very common. It's just a little hard for me to understand. Somebody just showed up there and wants to kill a 79-year-old guy. Did he tick somebody off? If so, the brothers should say so, but they don't. Really, they're just thinking it's murder because they can't believe that their father would just up and leave. Whereas we know people do up and leave. And older people who maybe are thinking they can't live their lives the way they want anymore, up and leave. And we also have to be open to the idea, it very could be with this older guy, that maybe didn't intend on disappearing, but maybe decided he was going to walk down to the corner store and had something happen while he was walking down there and just kept going. And once again, didn't realize what he was doing. This happens. And as our population here, at least in the United States, continues to age, these types of disappearances will become more common, just like mental health disappearances will becoming more common. Absolutely 100%. There's no doubt in my mind. Addiction disappearances. Once again, I live another 30 years. Those kinds of disappearances are going to be much more common then than they are now. So if this Bryant family, what was their name again? I'm sorry. No, that was that guy's first name. His name was Kenneth Turner, who went missing. If the Turner family can hear me, I realize you're thinking it's foul play. I have to tell you, the way the media has portrayed it, I don't think it is. I think you have to be open to the idea that your father did walk away. Certainly couldn't have gone too far. And just like I said about Zelig Williams' disappearance, I would not look any further or farther than a mile in any direction. And my guess is you will find your father, unfortunately deceased. It's been 6 months now, within that area. That is my prediction. Unless, of course, there's a major river nearby, in which case, then if you went into the river, then he could be many, many miles downstream by now. Very sad, but that's the reality of disappearances, as I've learned over the past 8 years. All right, let's get to Friday's disappearance. And it's funny, that's kind of been a topic tonight because we have to be open to that kind of idea for Friday's disappearance. The disappearance of John Clinton Walker. And he went by Clint, and that's how he will be referred to in the episode. His daughter Tabitha is the guest. I think it's the first Tabitha we've had on Unfound. He went missing from Wellingham, Washington on November 11th of 2014, which was Veterans Day. He was supposed to be taking buses, public transportation from where he lived to where Tabitha was. And he was going to be staying there with her for a couple of days. He never arrived. He was never seen again. She even found video of him getting on the bus, and then he got off the bus at this place where he usually went hiking, never to be seen again. This area where he usually went hiking was searched. Nothing of his was found. He had a backpack, he had a phone, he had his wallet. None of it was found. The weird part about this disappearance, though, is that somehow the jacket that he was wearing the day that he went missing, at least what he's wearing on the video from the bus, ended up back at his home. Nothing else that he had that day did, but the jacket that he was wearing did. So that is this Friday. John Clinton Walker. It is on the Charlie Project. I think it's on NamUs. Wellingham, Washington, the state of Washington, November 11th, 2014. So we're coming up on 10 years. And his daughter, Tabitha, is the guest. She did a fantastic interview. I did that interview yesterday. So that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you all for taking part. I hope you gave this video a thumbs up, the show a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel. Hazel is leaving. Our New Zealander is leaving us. Everybody's saying goodbye to her. Sarah's leaving, so it must be time for me to get out here as well. I'm hoping to catch you next week, Charlie. Of course, I'll know more next Monday when I do the next live show. What is that, October 28th? I'll know more. But right now, Orlando's not looking likely. So there you go. Thank you so much. And thank you for good to see all of you. Once again, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. Or you can hit the join button below on YouTube. Keep your heads on swivels out there. Charlie, say hi to the kids for me. Good night. Oh, Stephanie, I didn't see you. Good to see you, Stephanie. Good night.